Welcome back, Sips of Success podcast. We're here for another one. I am Cameron. This is my beautiful wife, Erin.
Hey.
How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
What are we sipping on? This looks yummy.
We are sipping on lemon ginger bombs.
Of course,
This is
it's a mocktail.
A mocktail because the lovely wife is pregnant with my beautiful baby in there. So, cheers. Did we cheers?
Oh, no. Sorry. I got right to it. I forgot.
That's terrible.
It's good. It's very refreshing.
Refreshing, I think.
And healthy, probably.
Yeah, healthy, you know. Got to nourish.
Minus the syrup.
It's ginger syrup. It has sugar in there, but you know, a little sweet.
You gotta have some sweet.
Yeah, something. So
what's in it?
It is lemon juice, of course, fresh lemon juice, ginger syrup, which is just ginger, sugar, and water. Then there is sparkling water that I topped it off with.
Okay.
And there's honey in there as well.
Yum.
Yeah. So.
Cute. And then he did the dehydrated lemons. If you're not watching, the garnish is where it's at. I feel like dehydrated fruit just takes the garnish up a notch.
It for
looks
sure makes
so
it
luxe.
Look. Yeah. Like I know what I'm doing.
You do. Okay. So this or that.
Okay.
Would you rather have extremely horrible breath?
Ooh.
Or extremely horrible body odor?
Dang.
I know they're both terrible.
That's horrible. God dang.
I know my answer, but I want to know what you say.
I don't even know. Like that sucks. I'm gonna go with.
And also, to know Cameron is to know he brushes his teeth like 3 times a day. Every time he eats something that has a lingering taste, he has to brush his teeth, water floss, regular floss, Listerine wash, literally like a 10-step oral hygiene process, which is great. But
I'm gonna go with
just to give some context.
I'm gonna go with like. Here's the thing though, like. Again, you didn't give your crazy stipulation, so I'm gonna go with body odor because I can't stand the taste of. My thing is, I think it's like, can I do the lemon juice thing?
No, you can. Your body just
you just stink.
Yeah, you just stink.
Then I'm gonna go with bad breath because I don't gotta talk.
Okay, because I'm like, yeah, I would just say.
Well, you gotta
breath.
start putting on your crazy stipulations because I'm like, I'll do the lemon juice.
That ain't
Right.
Whatever you do, don't work. That's how bad your body odor is.
I'm gonna just do bad breath then because I don't have to talk.
Okay, I would say bad breath too because body odor, it just lingers. Like you walk past and you smell it.
Yeah.
Like it's just ugh.
Yeah. If I need to talk to you, I'll talk to you on the phone.
Yeah, or you can just like, body odor just follows you wherever you go. Like your car will stink, everything will stink.
The walls in your house.
Yeah, it's just so unpleasant being around people who just purely stink. So I would say I would pick the bad breath.
Yeah, I just want
and just constantly chew gum and hope that certain things can kind of contain it.
Halitosis is steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know what your terrible preference would be. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Or do you want me to kick it off?
You said you knew the topic. I can't remember what you said.
Okay, so last week we announced we're having a baby.
Right, okay.
We're very excited. And we are the type of people who just don't accept the status quo. That's just how we are. So I would say we weren't necessarily 100% like, yes, we're ready to have a kid. We're trying like all the things. However, we were at a point where we were like, if it happens, we're okay with it. Like we're ready in that sense. So I feel like when we say things like our lives are gonna keep moving forward, or we are not stopping what we got going on because we have a child.
Right.
Or the baby needs to adapt to our lives and, we're not like putting a halt based on the baby.
Right.
People take that and they think that we don't understand that things change.
That your life changes.
Yes, that your life changes. That kids come in and they change your entire life.
Right.
So I just wanted to talk about some of those projections that aren't necessarily like specifically targeted toward us, but just like we love to travel. We love to, we have busy lives. We have a lot of fun. Like we do things. We're a very active couple in that regard. And people say things like, oh, get it all out the way, or, enjoy it while it lasts. Like things
y'all
like
doing
that.
It
right. Y'all doing it right.
Basically, y'all about to be done doing it right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all of these negative connotations. They're not necessarily negative statements, but they have a negative undertone. So I want to talk to you about that. Like, how does that make you feel? Well, first of all, can you explain a little bit more of like what that means to you when we say we are not letting our lives come to a stop based on us having a baby?
I'll answer the first part. You said, what does that mean when we say we want to let it stop?
Yeah.
What that means to me is us having a baby, like simply put, means that the baby isn't stopping where we're going in life. It's just now the baby is also going to those places, and because they're going to those places as well, that means wherever they're going after we're going is going to be even bigger than where we were able to take them.
Exactly.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And when people say stuff like that, how does it make you feel?
I feel like so I think that's why I wasn't too big on having kids. Mm-hmm. Not to say, that I wanted kids, but it's never been like, I can't wait to have kids. I feel like because of the negative, I guess, spread of...
Or undertone.
Yeah, undertone that people give off is why I'm like, having a kid is not that deep. Mm-hmm. Like, and to some people, it really may not be. And I feel like, to me, I wouldn't consider it deep. I could just consider it just a blessing. Like, whether you have them or you don't, like, whatever your thing is. But I feel like the negativity that is surrounded around having kids is probably why I once really, I couldn't care less, basically.
Is it fear? Is it fear of losing out on what you have? Because that was what it was for me.
I don't think it's a fear of losing out on what I have. I think it's a fear of, I guess it is kind of that. But I think it's more of like, this is the worst challenge you can have in your life. Because
that's what people make it seem like.
Like, to me, it's just like you having a kid is like the worst. I'm trying to figure out, like, why did you have them then?
Right.
Like, do you not get what you're saying? Like, my thing is, have you thought about what you're saying? And when you say it, how that sounds to others.
Exactly.
And to me, I'm like, well, why would I want a kid if this is how you actually feel? I see that you're smiling about it and you may not mean what you're saying in the way that it's coming out. But to me, I'm like, well, why
it's this major juxtaposition because people in one breath say, oh my God, they're the best thing that can happen to you. And then in the other breath say like,
really follow right after that.
Be ready, like everything's gonna change and which I'm sure it does. But we can't do X, Y, and Z now that we have kids, or we just, don't do things we still enjoy as much. Like I think the difference is that what we have accepted for ourselves is that of course things are going to change. We are not like oblivious to the fact that a kid is going to come in and they're going to demand a lot of attention, a lot of love, a lot of care for those, especially during those younger baby toddler years. Like we're not dumb, for lack of better words. However, we're like, we've said like, oh, we want to go overseas more and like do more long distance traveling. At this point, we're like, okay, we've done a good amount. Like we just did a big trip to France last year. Like we've done a lot of like great traveling over our time since we've been married. And, at this point we're like, okay, now we're excited to like rent a house somewhere and take the baby and like go, do vacation differently for a little while until we're able to get back to the things that once the baby can do a long haul flight, we can do that. You know what I mean? Like we understand that there are going to be changes that we have to make, but we still want to have that change involve the kid in the same direction that we were already going in.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's just like there are people who are doing it. Like we know people who are doing it. It's not, I think people there's this fine line between being extremely honest and like trying to warn you, you know, like that's what most people, their intentions are pure. It's like,
I mean,
y'all don't have, I think so, because it's like, y'all don't have kids yet, so y'all don't really know, but like, I know y'all have this idea in your mind, but don't set your expectations too high because this is the truth. Like,
right.
Or maybe I thought that too until I had kids. Like, it's kind of like this, it's like people feel like they're helping you out by not letting you kind of be in your little bubble.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think this is my thing with the perception of having children. I think that a lot of people take on the status quo of what it means to have a child, and that's the perception that once you have a child, that everything else is over with, which means they take on that perception for themselves, and you don't realize it's your fault as to why you're not doing some of the same things you did before the kid came.
Right.
Instead, you're like, oh, I have a kid. That means, oh, well, life is over. I just gotta do what I gotta do.
Like I have to give,
you know,
like everything
and
is going.
That's the perception.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, no, that's not gonna be me.
Exactly.
Nothing's wrong with that. Like it's okay. Like it's 100% your fault if you have a baby and you end your life. And what I mean by end your life is you stop doing the things that you once loved because you had a child. That is 100% your fault.
Right. I would say you let your life stop, not you end your life.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a
whatever.
Less harsh.
That's how I talk sometimes. But
yeah, I agree.
I mean, it is like people don't understand that telling me I'm the wrong person to say, oh yeah, get it all out now. What am I getting out now? If anything, it's just going up. Like
it's kind of like with marriage too. People will say the same thing. Like, I mean, that's the whole premise of having a bachelor or a bachelorette party. Like, get everything out now, because once you get married, you're basically trapped. Like, that's how it seems. Right. And there was this TikTok going around that went viral. We talk about this all the time. We actually have a podcast on it from like a while ago of Is Marriage Hard? And it's like people they will project about every single thing in life.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to be very careful of who you take advice from, because you will end up absorbing so much, and then that becomes your reality because you've let that. You let that
be you let someone else's words become your reality.
Yeah.
When really you could have just lived your own life and experienced your own marriage, your own relationships in general. Like,
right, just your life.
Like, just like for once, I would challenge everybody to, like, for once, see how your life is going to live out for a month without comparing it to someone else's, without thinking that, oh, 1, 2, and 3 told me this. Like, see how things are for you just for 1 month.
Right.
See believe in yourself for 1 month enough to say, I'm gonna take what I believe and let's see what
put it into action.
I guarantee. I don't want to say I guarantee, but I guarantee that you're going to be enlightened.
Booster.
Yeah, like you're like, oh,
I do want
to do this.
Basically. Ask you something though about preparation, because I think preparation has a lot to do with the success of anything.
Yeah.
Whether it's preparation for entrepreneurship, preparation for marriage, preparation for kids, preparation for buying big things like a house or a car. Like, if you're not prepared, you really, really increase your chances of experiencing more challenges than you would have if you were prepared.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like, preparation doesn't mean that you're not going to face any challenges. It just means that you're a little bit more aware of the challenges that may come, or you're a little bit more prepared to actually face the challenge.
Yeah, you put yourself in a position to I guess, grasp what's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about preparation for children, because I feel like it's so commonly heard. We hear it all the time. Like, it's never the perfect time, or you're never going to actually be ready. What do you feel about that in the lens of how we are? Like, just for us. Do you feel like we are prepared?
I feel like we're prepared.
Why?
I think once I realized that us trying to think the right time, or us trying to wait on the right time. Once I realized that us waiting on the right time will never be, because I don't think there's a such thing as a right time.
Or like the perfect time.
I should say. Like, once I realized that wasn't a thing, that's when I realized we were prepared. Mm-hmm. I think once, there are challenges we have experienced. I feel like those challenges have, I guess, exposed, like, oh no, you're ready. Mm-hmm. Like, and it may not just be for a baby. It just means like you're ready for that next thing. That thing you may have been scared to do. That step you've been maybe scared to take. You know what I'm saying? I feel like some of the challenges that we have experienced has said you're ready. Yeah. And ready just means that you've prepared enough to take on this next step. Yeah. To bring on this next project, to have a child. Like, I think that's what preparation means. Exactly. I feel like no one is 100% ready for what's thrown at them, because the best experience is life, when it's there. I think I'm a hands-on, so I'm 100% positive, looking forward to being hands-on with the baby, like, to learn, because I feel like it's nothing like your own child anyway. But that's how I am with anything. Like, in school, I couldn't just do a test. I had to like really be in it, touching it to learn. Yeah. Giving me a standardized test, that's like giving me this child's book and said, mark the bubble on which one you think is right. It could be 100 ways to be right on how to take care of a baby or whatever, how to have a successful marriage, how to have a successful business. Like, that's how I look at it, hands on. Mm-hmm. Until I touch it, it really don't mean nothing to me. Yeah. And I cannot wait to, once we have the baby, to give my take on it then. Yeah. Because I think going into things with a positive mindset changes all the things in the world for you. Exactly. If you're going with that negativity that we've heard or that we've heard, then I 100% expect challenges. Because if I'm taking on what everybody else been saying, then I'm 100% waiting on all the challenges. Right. And I don't think I'm going to get out the challenges, because it's people we know that's 70 years old still talking about. It's kind of like they still like, dang, you make it seem like you should have never had kids. Yeah. So you basically, after you have kids, I'm not trying to live the rest of my life feeling like I had this burden just because I had a child. Mm-hmm. And your kid's grown. Like, what's the point of that? You live to me, it seems like you living a bit of a miserable life in that way. I don't know.
And I think for us too, preparation is just like very tangible things as well. Like, in my ideal world, we're both home, like working from home.
I got one thing. There's this other influencer that reached out to me a while ago. They also have a podcast, but mm-hmm. Their daughter has a I don't want to butcher. I'm just gonna say she has like a medical condition, mm-hmm. and it requires 24/7. I guess not surveillance, but like care, 24/7 care. And to me, I see them traveling. My thing is, it's really up to you whether or not you let your world stop because of a challenge. Yeah. Challenges come up every day. Right. It's either you're going to bathe in those or you're going to conquer them. Right. So that's kind of how I look at it. And that's, once I saw their stuff, I was like, man, I don't see how anybody else out here is complaining. Yeah. Like, and I know for a fact that they're experiencing challenges that it's like, wow, I couldn't imagine. But at the same time, they make it very known we live a great life. Yeah. And we're giving our daughter the best life possible. And I think that's the goal, to be able to give your child the best life possible, no matter what the circumstances may be. Right. Like, that's the difference, your mindset toward, whatever comes your way. Right.
I would say for me, preparation is that, like, definitely the mindset part, but also like tangible things. And I feel like a lot of people don't feel like they have as much control as they do. Yeah. So, for example, like, if you end up having a baby, I'm not saying mistakes don't happen. However, there are a lot of ways to prevent things from happening. And I also think simply having sex comes with the potential outcome that you can get pregnant. So if your life is not in a position to where you are ready for that, right, then you do have control to just simply not have sex. Right. in most circumstances. I know there are some extreme circumstances that do not have control. However, I would say that for us, it was like we were extremely safe until we were ready to not be safe.
Yeah, we got to that.
Even the pregnancy scare, it was like I was just being paranoid. Like we were being very safe. And it's not to say that you can be extremely safe and still not get pregnant.
Yeah.
But I was like, even if I do get pregnant, like we were in a position even back then where it wouldn't have been ideal, but we were going to make things work.
Yeah.
Now, now we can say, like we will no. Now we are in a different position.
Yeah.
In all ways. We have a home. We have secure finances. We are even like, as soon as the baby is born, we're opening up investment accounts for the baby and doing all of these different things so that when they're our age, we don't have to worry about paying for a wedding, paying for, all of these different things. And the baby can just have what they want. You know what I mean? I think preparation looks like how you want your life to continue to go.
Right. And
for us, I do think that we, over these last almost 4 years that we've been married, have done that. It may not have been like, okay, we're doing this because in 3 years we want to have a baby. But it's like we're doing it because this is the path that we're looking to go on. And I think we knew
that one day we would have children.
And I think a lot of people look at people whose lives do continue and they're like, well, they're financially set. Like they don't count. Or they both work from home, so they don't count. Like, it's not fair. I still have to go into a job. I still have to make ends meet. I'm, whatever. Like, it's like kind of this mindset that
they don't count.
You don't count because
you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, you prepared.
And I'm not going to say you did what you were supposed to do, but you don't count because you took control of your own life to be able to. You're in the process of creating a life that gives you the ability to stay home.
To do those things. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing that I'm saying. Is
that's
that
the mindset to do those things.
Created the life that we have so that when we do have a family, we can continue on the path that we want to go.
Exactly.
And it's just really that simple. Yeah. It's like control the things that you can control, and you have a much higher chance of having your desired outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really just that. And to me, a lot of people, when they have children, it's just kind of haphazard. Like, I got pregnant. Like, and I'm really not in a position where I'm ready to have a baby. But obviously when that happens, you make it work. So making it work and like being in a position where you're just like still exceeding in life are two different lifestyles. Yeah. They're two different lifestyles. They're two different mindsets. And so it is, I'm sure, difficult for a lot of people to grasp what we're saying because your life just looks different. Yeah,
but even so, like, even if you do have a child when you haven't prepared, I'm not going to say when you're not ready, but when you haven't prepared, it's still on you to not prepare going forward.
Well,
the way I look at it is you may not be financially stable. You may not have a home, but not only do you have that 9 months before, you have that time before and you have that time after to do what you need to do to get to that space. Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's not a challenge, but the difference is you're not being willing to take the challenge. Yeah. And beat it, basically.
Well, I think our society just overall doesn't value preparing in general. Like, most people don't prepare for their day. They just wake up, they just get going. Yeah. They don't really have a focus or an agenda for the day. So imagine having a whole child, which is probably one of the most challenging, life-altering things you could do, and to just fall into it. You know what I mean? Like, even with entrepreneurship, it's like you have a much higher chance of having a successful business if you have $100,000 to go into the business, and you have some type of business acumen, and you maybe have a mentor that you've connected with in college that, you know, you've built this relationship with, or you've prepared.
Right.
Whereas like somebody who just lost their job and is trying to make something out of nothing, you're in two different places.
Right.
You didn't prepare for potentially losing your job.
Yeah.
So now you have to figure it out.
Right.
And I think it's an equal, like it's equal. It's everything.
Yeah.
And I think people who value preparation, our lives just look different.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset that you have to have. And I don't want people to think that we're being insensitive. I just think it's the simple fact that your mindset has the ability to dictate what the outcome of certain things are. Not because you're just oblivious to reality, but because you're willing to be solution oriented and think of and lead with positivity.
Yeah, I think too, even like having to put the disclaimer of being insensitive, I don't even think it's insensitive. I think it's...
I knew you were going to say something about that.
I'd be so sick of putting out disclaimers. I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's also what's wrong with our society is like
overly sensitive.
Yeah, it's like you can't experience success without putting out a disclaimer.
Right.
And I'm like, why am I sorry about something that I decided to do?
Right, exactly.
Like, my thing is it's almost like people are happier if you fail at it versus like, oh, shoot, I know people are mad that I'm succeeding, so let me put this disclaimer out there.
Yeah. But it's actually really interesting because I have a friend, her name's Olivia, and she's maybe a few years older than me, multi-millionaire, built this massive house, like super, super successful, has a beautiful family, is an immigrant who moved from Uganda, and she's like on her way to be a billionaire. That's her goal. And her whole thought on kids was, shoot, I'm about to knock these kids out early. She had her kids. She has 4 kids. She's in her early 30s, and she's like, I want to have them early while I'm like
I think she just
active
turned, 32?
and she's probably 32. Yeah. While I'm like young and active, and so like in my 30s, I can like be focused on like my goals because they'll be self-sufficient. And now she like,
and it's not that, don't get it twisted, she was focused on her goals while
she
raising
was
these
she
kids,
was
but now
grinding.
This is the home stretch for her,
right? But now it's like, all right, this is like them years that I can really, really, really focus. And she's in her 30s, early 30s, and she like has a chicken farm in Uganda that she has to go to. She works with all these different governments in Dubai and in Africa and all of these different places, and she's traveling a lot. She's away from her family a lot, but it's a sacrifice that she's like, I'm making this sacrifice because I know where I came from, and I know where I'm going, and I know where I want my kids to be in the position I want them to be in. And so to me, parenting, I see people like her, and it's not to say that my intentions are to be away from my child for like months on end because I'm doing work. But
sometimes
if that happens, like you have to know the bigger picture. And I think I appreciate seeing parents in action where they don't sacrifice their dreams and their goals for 18, 20 years because they're raising kids.
But also, I would say this.
Because I think it's very important for your kids to see you in action. Yeah. And for your kids to be able to look at their parents and be like, I don't necessarily want my kids to think of me as having sacrificed my desires for their sake. I want them to see that I am like doing for their sake. You know what I mean? Not like giving up so much. Yeah. And it's like a lot of times parents will be like, well, I had to stop doing this because, you know, we had to get y'all through college, or we had to do this. Like we couldn't take vacations, or we couldn't blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the cycle has to stop. Yeah. So that's just where we're like.
But I was also going to say too, like, even in our particular situation where we're going, and even what we're seeing now, like this year, like seeing what 100% looks like, even like now, like when you travel, because you know, some trips I wasn't able to go on for whatever reasons, like I might be working or it just doesn't make sense. But now it's
you
like,
talking about when I travel for work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But now it's like, oh, like even having the baby, I'm like, oh, all right,
Family
me and
trip.
the baby will
right.
go, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's also another way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes if that's what you want out of your life for it to work, that's what your baby gets to see.
Yeah.
And I think like you said it in a long version, but to me, like that's the simple thing. If you say, well, I travel too much, okay, how can we all go?
Yeah.
You may not go to the meeting, but hey, at night you get to lay down with your baby. Exactly. You get to go to dinner with your baby and your spouse. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're making something work that others don't believe is possible.
Yeah.
And that's where we're different at and don't agree with a lot of.
Because we just believe it's possible.
Yeah, like it is simple.
So.
And it's going to work.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're so excited. Like, I feel like this is just so, it's going to be just so even much more fulfilling.
Yeah. Being
able to know that our actions are molding the perspective of a whole nother human.
And I think to date, how things have always gone for us is that when we say we're going to do something, it may not be in the way that we thought, but the results show every single time.
That's why we're a dream team.
Yes. Like at this point, I can only keep betting on us because I've seen it over and over again work and happen. Yeah. Like I don't have no other reason not to believe it's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Even from the times of failure, like it still worked. You know, right. So you know you don't win every day, but the goal is not to win every day. The goal is to win in life. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, I'm not even looking at the baby to be a challenge. That's just me though. I know that's not what people say or think about their kids, but like I just don't view it as a challenge. I just think it's another. I
think that's kind of along the same lines of like, do you view marriage as a challenge? We don't. Yeah. We view marriage as
it's the best thing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And if we face challenges, we're facing them together. So it's not that challenges don't come. It's just we don't look at it as we're a challenge. Yeah. And so I'm sure
which is why we won't look at the baby as the baby as a challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll bring its fair share of adjusting and change, and it's gonna change our world. It is, but that is for the better, you know. Like it's gonna change our world for the in the best way possible. And of course, we're gonna have like long nights. Maybe if our baby is like, up at night or. Some people, everybody's baby isn't though. Like some people's babies sleep good. So it's just like we're just praying for like the life that we want. Yeah. And we're believing that God will provide that for us. Yeah. And we're going to put the work in to get it. So, period.
Simple. Well.
All right, you guys. Yeah. This was good. I'm glad we chit-chatted through this because me and Cameron, we of course, like when we did the baby announcement and we say certain things and we just get... and it's not even like to rebut comments. It's just like, this is how we think. Like, this is our perspective on it. And we appreciate all of the insight. Yeah. However, we don't take everyone's insight. Like, we take it with a grain of salt. If it's something that just doesn't resonate with us. But you're fine to comment it. We don't care. Yeah. But that's just how we are.
But also, too, just like, people provide insight, if that's the word. That's what it is. It's insight. Yeah. Like,
and honestly, our take might not resonate with everyone either, and that's
everybody.
Fine.
Hey, our TA for everybody, and everybody TA for us. So
right.
But the thing is too to be able to share a different perspective that I think is not common. So that, and my hope for even doing the podcast is that maybe like, all right, that was kind of thought provoking.
Yeah.
And while we're going through like figuring it out too, but the difference is sometimes some people need to hear it from others sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think we were both pretty self-motivated in a lot of ways, and I don't know, I think this is my biggest motivation outside of just continue to have these great conversations is that I do think having the ability to reach someone, if it's just one, without like a, I guess, sob story, because I told you I used to think like I don't really have a story to like latch on to. Like I don't really feed off of like anything negative that I've really experienced. So like I think now I'm just in that that mode of like, hey, you got something to share your perspective. If it helps, cool. If it doesn't, hey, it's out there.
Right.
Like,
thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I'm not giving advice. It's just, I'm trying to share my experience through life. And for the first time, I believe that my life experiences matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do.
So, yeah. So that's how I look at it.
Be careful you're not brushing up against it.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Like, it's just, I think it's just as simple as, like, experience your life for what it is. You don't have to take everybody's 2 cents and make it your reality, because a lot of times we'll take in so much and then we'll be trying to regurgitate someone else's blessing, and you'll be stuck figuring out, okay, why is this not working for me? Well, you didn't do this your way. You took something that you saw or read or whatever the case may be, and you tried to make that yours. That's not yours. That's why you're unique. We're all unique. That's why we're individuals. And that's why sometimes individuals come together and they make a dream and they make it work. Yeah. So, hey, if you rock with me, then you rock with us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait to meet my baby. So,
I know.
Yes.
We're excited.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.